Hello everybody, this is Jansaurus here. We focus on budget magic. Today I am bringing you a budget-friendly Vadrik Astral Archmage commander deck. Vadrik Astral Archmage is a 1/2 human wizard for 1 blue-red. If it's neither day nor night, it becomes day as Vadrik Astral Archmage enters the battlefield. Instant and sorcery spells cost X less to cast, where X is Vadrik's power. Whenever day becomes night, or night becomes day, put a +1/+1 counter on Vadrik. So Vadrik is a very interesting commander. He can let you cheat out a lot of interesting and big spells, and it's a very unique way to build him since he does not depend on +1/+1 counters necessarily. He depends on his power to decrease his cost. We can actually put a bunch of unique pump spells into this deck, and it works out very well. Alright, first off we're going to start by rocking and rolling. Our Military Sphere is a 2 CMC artifact, and you pay 2 and tap it. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, and then shuffle your library. Izzet Cluestone is a 3 CMC artifact where you tap it to add either a blue or a red to your mana pool, and Izzet Locket is 3 CMC, and you can also tap it for a blue or a red. Talisman of Creativity is a 2 CMC artifact, and you can tap it for a colorless mana, or you can tap it for a blue or a red, and it deals 1 damage to you. For the Izzet Cluestone and the Izzet Locket, you can also stack it late game if you really need the card draw, which you shouldn't. With this deck, we have plenty of card draw. Alright, we're going to start off again with a little bit more ramp. We have Farfinder, which is the 3 CMC 1/1 Fox, and when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Pilgrim's Eye is a 3 CMC 1/1 Flyer. When Pilgrim's Eye enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. And then we have Skittering Surveyor. Is a 3 CMC construct for 1/2. When Skittering Surveyor enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and then shuffle. And then we have Storm Kiln Artist, 3 and a red for a 2/2 dwarf, and Storm Kiln Artist gets +1 for each artifact you control, and whenever you cast a spell or a copy of the spell, create a treasure token. So this can, in this deck specifically, since we are going to be trying to combo off, this can just obtain you an absurd amount of ramp in this deck. Alright, we're going to go to card draw. Blue Sun Zenith. X blue blue blue. Target player draws X cards, shuffle Blue Sun Zenith into its owner's library. Diviner's Portent. X blue blue blue. You roll a d20, add the number of cards, and add the number of cards in your hand. So a 1 through 14, draw X cards. A 15 plus, you scry X, and then you draw X. You can almost look through half your library with this card pretty easy. So it is a very important card. We can pick and choose exactly what we want with this very easily. Stroke of Genius, X2 and a blue. Target player draws X cards. And then Whisper of Muse. Blue, and it has a buyback of 5. You may pay an additional 5 when you play the spell. If you do, put it into your hand instead of your graveyard as part of the spell's effect. So, Vadrik has a very interesting interaction with all of these. Let's just say he has just his base rate without putting any extra mana into any of these spells to activate them. You automatically get one extra card from whatever mana you put into it. So that's a very interesting thing. But let's just say he has power and toughness of 5/2. That automatically makes Blue Sun Zenith draw 5 cards for just 3 mana. Same with Diviner's Portent. Stroke of Genius, you would draw 3 for the same amount of mana, and then or you would draw 5 for the same amount of mana as the other 2. And then Whisper of Muse is where it gets interesting. For 1 blue, you just draw a card, and you permanently have this card back into your hand since you have a buyback value of 5. So Vadrik works very, very well with the buyback system. You can get free spells and free advantage on your opponents. I would like to point out that Blue Sun Zenith and Stroke of Genius are going to be used as potential win conditions here. If we can get to an absurdly high number of power on Vadrik, we can just choose to have our opponents just deck out. So that is one potential win condition here, and we'll get to another one here in a little bit. First, we still got a little bit more card draw. We have Mind Spring. For X blue blue, you draw X cards. Apex of Power, 7 red red red. Exile the top 7 cards of your library until the end of the turn. You may cast spells from among them. If the spell was cast from your hand, add 10 mana of any one color. So in a way, if Vadrik happens to have 7 power, we can actually gain an extra 7 red mana off of this if we really wanted to. Muse Vortex, X blue blue, exile the top X cards of your library. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value X or less from among them without paying its mana cost. Then put the exiled instant and sorcery cards that weren't cast this way into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is a dig spell, and then it just is able to play almost any of our cards for absolutely free, depending on Vadrik's power level. And then it just puts the rest of the instances sorceries into our hand. So that's a very, very good card in this deck. And then Treasure Cruise, 7 and a blue, draw 3 cards. If Vadrik's power is up to 7, it's an Ancestral Recall. It is a blue for drawing 3 cards. It is a very strong draw engine that we have built here, and it's not over yet. Epic Experiment, X blue red. Exile the top X cards of your library. You may cast instant and sorcery spells with converted mana cost X or less from among them without paying their mana cost. Then put all cards exiled this way that weren't cast into your graveyard. So not only is it a dig spell, but we can play multiple spells without even paying for their mana cost. So this can get absurd value. If we pay, if somehow Vadrik gets up to 10 plus, we can play everything that's in our library for absolutely free. Archmage Emitterus is 2 blue blue, and it has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. We are definitely a Spell Slinger deck in this deck, so we are just going to draw an absurd amount of cards if Archmage is on the battlefield. Meeleek Izzet Paragon, 4 blue red. You play with the top card of your library revealed. You may cast instant or sorcery spells from the top of your library, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from the top of your library, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. So this is just an extra value engine off of our other value engines. So this can get ridiculous. You can pay, you can play a Blue Sun Zenith if, let's say, Vadrik's power level is 5. You can draw 5 cards, and you have a buddy draw 5 cards for absolutely free, just based off of those 2 cards, since Melee can copy a instant or sorcery if you play it off the top of your library, and then just gets shuffled back into your library to use again at a future time. This isn't necessarily card draw, just because if there's a land on top, you can't really do anything with it, but it is a very, very good way to just keep your value engine going. Alright, now we're going to get into our pump spells. First off, we have Enrage, which is X and a red. Target creature gets X or plus X plus 0 until end of turn. Again, Vadrik, the higher his power is, the more you can just pump this for absolutely free. Balduvian Rage, X and a red. Target attacking creature gets plus X plus 0 until end of turn. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. You want to be very careful with this card. You want to be attacking into someone who doesn't have a defender, or who doesn't have someone who can kill Vadrik. This is a very... it would be good for if you have other instances you want to cast immediately, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. Fatal Frenzy, 2 and a red for an instant. Until end of turn, target creature you control gains trample and gets plus X plus 0, where X is its power, and you sacrifice it at the end of the turn. You do want to put this on Vadrik, but the thing is, you want to do it when you know you can combo off. If you know you can't combo off and you can't finish the game, I would highly recommend not using this. Fist of Flame, 1 and a red. Draw a card until the end of turn. Target creature gains trample and gets plus 1 for each card you've drawn this turn. If you can play this near the end of your draw spells, you can pump Vadrik by an absurd amount. You can pump him by plus 10 very easily with this card. Lunar Frenzy, X and a red. Target creature you control gets plus X plus 0 and gains first strike and trample until end of turn. Again, if based on whatever Vadrik's power is at the time, it just adds completely free value to this. So for just 1 and a red, you're already doubling Vadrik's power if he's just a 1/2. But obviously, the more and more counters, the more power he has, the more it's going to be worth it. Rush of Blood, 2 and a red. Target creature gets plus X plus 0 until end of turn, where X is its power. This is a 1 mana double Vadrik's power, which can instantly just cheat out these amazing spells. Unleash Fury, 1 and a red. Double the power of target creature until end of turn. Again, all these pump spells are spectacular in this deck. Haze of Rage, 1 and a red with buyback 2. Creatures you control get plus 1 plus 0 until end of turn with Storm. So the funny thing about this is that if Vadrik already makes this just a 1. So if he happens to have 3 power to begin with, you can just constantly pay the 1 red mana, and it just storms. So the first time you cast it, it just does it once. Then the second time you cast it, it does it twice. And the third time, it does it 3. So you can actually get an absurd amount of value out of just this one card, and just quickly be able to pump Vadrik up to a ridiculous amount. Alright, here we're going to look at some equipment. Black Blade Reforged. For 2 CMC, equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control. And obviously this is going to go on Vadrik, giving him an absurd amount of power, hopefully, and therefore making all of our spells cheaper. Mask of Avacyn. For 2 CMC, equipped creature gets +1/+2 and has hexproof. We're not really too concerned about the +1/+2, but the thing here is hexproof. We definitely want Vadrik to stay alive, and the harder it is for someone to hurt him, the better. So that is why we have 3 different hexproof equipments here, and the next one is Mirror Shield. For 2 CMC, equipped creature gets +0/+2 and has hexproof, and whenever a creature with death touch blocks or becomes blocked by this creature, destroy that creature. This is just a tiny bit of added extra protection compared to Mask of Avacyn, but again, we just really want to have a hexproof option because it makes it harder for enemies to remove Vadrik. Ring of Evos Izzet. For 2 CMC, you can pay an extra 2. Equipped creature gains hexproof until end of turn, and at the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on equipped creature if it's blue. So this is a great way to slowly pump Vadrik up, making his cheating big spells effect even more effective and potent, and plus it also has an instant speed option to help protect Vadrik in case someone wants to go after him. And then Rune Chanter's Pike. For 2 CMC, equipped creature has first strike and gets +X/+0, where X is the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. Late game, if this is on him, it can easily turn into a +10, +15. It just really depends on the board state, but at minimum, usually there is at least 3 or 4, and that is enough to start the ball rolling on our value engines. Alright, here we go with the Ping King. Electrostatic Field, 1 in a red with Defender. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Electrostatic Field deals 1 damage to each opponent. Gutter Snipe, 2 in a red. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, Gutter Snipes deals 2 damage to each opponent. Thermo Alchemist, for 1 in a red, can tap and deal 1 damage to each opponent, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, untap Thermo Alchemist. And Zafi, Thunder Conductor, 2 blue-red. Magecraft, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, scry 1. If that spell's mana value is 5 or greater, create a 4/4 blue-red elemental creature token. And if that spell's mana value is 10 or greater, Zafi, Thunder Collector, deals 10 damage to an opponent chosen at random. I just realized that his name is Thunder Conductor, and in the text box it says Thunder Collector. That is a really, really unfortunate typo. So the great thing about Zafi is that not only does he scry you cards, he produces you tokens, and very quickly with Vadrik, he can start doing 10 damage to a random opponent, which can easily take someone out if they're not a life gain deck very quickly. We have a lot of X spells, and there's a very good chance that Zafi can take out an opponent in this deck. Alright, here we have Burn It All. This is our other winning strategy here in this deck. First we have Comet Storm with X red red with multi-kicker of 1. Choose any target, then choose another target for each time the spell was kicked. Comet Storm deals X damage to each of them. So, the way that multi-kicker works is that Vadrik's power can also affect this, since it's an additional 1 mana any number of times. So let's just say we want to hit our 3 opponents in the face. 3 of Vadrik's power would go to the multi-kicker, and the rest of the power would go into the generic X mana that you can pay. So this is a slightly less efficient way of being able to do a massive amount of damage, honestly. Volcanic Geyser, X red red. Volcanic Geyser deals X damage to any target. This can easily just take out one player who's causing problems on the board. Let's say Vadrik has 10 power and toughness. Let's go with a more realistic with a 5. That alone will deal 5 damage to them. Let's say you have another 5 on the table for mana and mana rocks. That's just 10 damage at instant speed right before your lands untap again. Can be very, very problematic for any of your opponents. Crackle with Power, XXX, red red. Crackle with Power deals 5 times X damage for each of up to X targets. So this is an interesting one. We do want to at least pay a total of 11 mana so we can at least hit all of our opponents, but to do that, and that would hit each of them with 15 damage with that math. That is a lot, but it is very doable with all of the pump effects that we have in this deck. And then we have Fanning the Flames for X red red with a buyback of 3. Fanning the Flames deals X damage to target creature or player. So this is a repeatable, massive burn spell that people will know is just in our hand, and just every turn we can just at least nearly take out a player with this card and Vadrik on the field. So this is just a very, very annoying and pesky card, because people will know that if they play a big creature, it's gone. If I don't play a big creature, they could hit me in the face. It's just a very, very interesting way to play mind games with your opponent with this card. And we're going to continue to burn it all with Jaya's Immolating Inferno. X red red, and Jaya's Immolating Inferno deals X damage to each up to 3 targets. So obviously you're going to aim this for people's face, and it's just a massive burn spell. Rolling Thunder, X red red. Rolling Thunder deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or players. Again, this is just a huge burn spell, most of the time just going to go right towards the opponent's face. Volcanic Vision, 5 red red. Return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Volcanic Vision deals damage equal to that card's mana value to each creature your opponent controls, and then you exile Volcanic Vision. So this is a very big spell. Unfortunately, you don't want to hit a lot of our other big burn spells, because they have an X value in the mana cost, and that actually makes it a lower CMC. So let's look at Rolling Thunder, for example. If you grab a Rolling Thunder with Volcanic Vision, it's actually only going to be doing 2 damage, since the X at that moment counts as 0. It is unfortunate part of this deck building, But if we get our treasure cruise, that's 8 damage to every single creature, and a majority of times that'll be enough to wipe out most of the board. Utility creatures. We have Adeliz, the Cinderwind, 1 blue-red, flying haste, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, wizards you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Vadrik is a wizard. That's all I should have to say. Every time you cast a spell, every time you cast a draw spell, a pump spell, Vadrik is getting an additional bonus just for having Adeliz on the battlefield. Archaeomancer, 2 blue. When Archaeomancer enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. This could either get you a powerful draw spell, a powerful pump spell, or a burn spell. That is really all we need in that deck to actually perform, is just maybe get another one of those powerful spells, and then we can go off again the next turn. Dualcaster Mage, 1 red with flash. When Dualcaster Mage enters the battlefield, copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So this can be very, very mean with our burn spells. People might not realize that we didn't tap down for everything but 3 mana, and then we can play Dualcaster Mage with flash, and then copy that huge burn spell and literally double the power for only 3 additional mana. It is very mean and is a very fun way to take someone out. Young Pyromancer is 1 and a red. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a 1/1 red elemental creature token on the battlefield. You can attack with these, but I can imagine you're not going to be everyone's favorite on the battlefield or on the table, so you might be the number 1. So those 1/1 red elemental creature tokens can actually be used as blockers for a majority of the time until you have enough to where it's actually a threat. But this will just keep your life total at a very safe range, since we don't have a way of gaining life. Alright, here we have a few flash effects. Hypersonic Dragon, 3 blue-red. Flying haste, you may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. And Tidal Barracuda, 3 and a blue. Any player may cast spells as though they had flash. Your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. So I'm not sure which one of these is actually better. Attacking wise, obviously it's the Hypersonic Dragon. But utility-wise, I'm not quite sure. Hypersonic Dragon only affects you, so that gives you quite the advantage. But Tidal Barracuda prevents anyone from countering any stuff that is happening on your turn, or casting removal on your turn. So it is I'm not quite sure which one's better for the trade-off. I would say that Tidal Barracuda is very vital if you're trying to combo off, just to prevent someone from denying your very large burn spell. It's a very good way to ensure your win and your comboing with this. One thing I would like to point out is that since Vadrik cares about the day and night cycle, how the day and night cycle work is that if it's daytime and you don't cast any spells on your turn, it turns to night, and then the next person has to play 2 spells in their turn, and then it can turn back to day. So the way that we can use both of these cards is we can have our big sorcery plays, keep them in our hands, and then it turns to nighttime, and that almost guarantees us to either turn it to day or turn it to night on our turn without losing any value or options. So these cards at first look good, but then you realize that you can manipulate the day and night cycle with these 2 cards, and it just becomes that much better of a combo with these two. Utility spells, we have Brass's Bounty. This is 6 in a red. For each land token, create a treasure token. This can just give you an absurd value, especially late game if Vadrik has 6 power. This is a 1 mana ramp spell that can ramp you almost as much as any other ramp spell. Curse of the Swine, X blue, exile target creatures. For each creature exiled this way, its controller creates a 2/2 green poor creature token. So this is a very, very mean removal spell in this deck. I honestly love this card. But just taking it, let's just say Vadrik has 5. For 2 mana, you can remove the 5 most problematic cards on the table, including commanders. And it is it ignores Indestructible. The only thing that can prevent this is Shroud and Hexproof. It is a very, very mean removal spell in this card. Mystic Retrieval, 3 in a blue. Return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand with flashback of 2 in a red. This can just instantly get us another big burn spell. Brass's Bounty if we need the ramp. A draw spell if we're running out of gas. This can just do so much for us in the late game. Scour for Existence. If Vadrik is big enough, Scour from Existence is just completely free. Just exile target permanent. There's a problematic artifact, gone. Problematic land, even, like a Gaia's Cradle, just gone for completely free. This is a very great card in this deck. Shattering Pulse, 1 in a red with buyback of 3, destroy target artifact. This can literally just wipe out every single other artifact on the board just by repeatedly paying just 1 red mana. It is a very mean card. Mass Manipulation for 4, XX, blue, for 4 blue, and Vadrik's powers, let's just say 4 in this case. We can just steal two of the biggest problematic cards on the field. It is a very mean card, and the bigger Vadrik is, the more hurtful this can be. Firemind's Foresight, 5 blue red. Search your library for an instant card with converted mana cost of 3. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then repeat that for CMC 2 and 1. This is a very effective search card. It just gets us whatever we need in that instant. And not only that, it gets us 3 things, which is just very, very, very mean, and I absolutely love this card in this deck. Solve the Equation is a tutor spell. Search your library for an instant or sorcery card, reveal it, put it into your hand. Most of the time this will just be 1 blue mana, and to search your library for the instant and sorcery that you specifically need in any given situation is honestly very busted. It is definitely worth the $2 price tag in this deck. Condescend, X in a blue, counter target spell unless its controller pays X, and then you scry 2. With Vadrik's power level, let's just say it's a 5. Most people are just going to let that spell be countered unless it's a game-winning spell and they have infinite mana. Spell Burst, however, is a very interesting one. X in a blue with a buyback of 3, counter target spell with converted mana cost X. If Vadrik is big enough, we can just constantly counter every spell that gets played, as well as putting it right back into our hand. So the only thing that can prevent us from casting it is our blue mana. If that's the situation, the game's pretty much over. No one can play the game. and we just constantly counter everything that they do. It is a very mean card, and I love it in this deck. Curator's Ward, 2 and a blue, enchant permanent. Enchanted permanent has hexproof. When enchanted permanent leaves the battlefield, if it was historic, draw 2 cards. Legendaries count as historic. Obviously, we're going to slap this on Vadrik. There are ways of getting around hexproof, so whenever that does probably eventually happen, at least we get a little bonus by drawing 2 cards. And then Wizard's Class, a 1 blue mana enchantment. You have no maximum hand size. With how big our draw spells are, this is a very important card, and then it only just becomes better and better. Not too much worried about the level 2 price. It's alright, it's just a little bit extra draw synergy. But when we get to level 3, that's when it becomes a very big deal. We can use our level 3 wizard class to keep pumping Vadrik, which in turn makes everything even more cheaper. So that includes our draw spells, which makes Vadrik even bigger, and it just keeps on building and snowballing and snowballing and snowballing, and it is a very, very, very fun thing to watch happen if this all goes according to plan. Alright, so let's get into our value. For TCG player, all these cards cost only $26. Now, this is without shipping. Sometimes TCG player is very interesting with how it does its buying, and sadly, sometimes for the cart optimizer, it does not work with the specific cards that you have, especially for commander decks. All that unique cards just kind of slowly adds up and just makes your computer lag and sit on that screen forever. So I'm not counting the shipping in TCG player, so your prices may vary. Card Kingdom is very consistent just because it is just the flat rate. As long as you spend, I believe, over $35, you get free shipping, so you don't even have to worry about shipping on that one. And then, so the average cost of this deck, or for a Vadrik deck, is $360 on Card Kingdom. If we look at our Card Kingdom value, it was $40. So we are using 1/9 of the budget and doing some very unique things that I feel like not very many other Izzet commanders can do. I feel like not very many Izzet commanders use pump spells to facilitate their game plans, and I feel like Vadrik is just a very unique way of building a Izzet commander. Alright, there is a slight alternative way, and it doesn't cost too much more to do, so I'm just going to throw this out there. If you have a Paradox Engine, which is for 5 CMC, whenever you cast a spell, untap all non-land permanents you control, and then you use a bunch of mana rocks, such as Izzet Signet, Izzet Locket, diamonds, and even just a soul ring to just give you that little bit of extra oomph. You can go infinite with this deck very, very quickly. You can use that to play a time stretch in case you are running out of gas, and then you just get an extra turn where you can repeat everything. It is a very it would be a very combo-y style deck, which, as much as this is a combo style deck, I'm not the biggest fan of this way, mostly just because I don't like using Paradox Engine. That is probably like my biggest pet peeve card, but I will acknowledge that that is a very effective way to build this deck as well. Alright, so lore wise, Vadrik is a very powerful astronomancer and has done much research on the moon, which gives him some protection of from werewolves, which is why he's involved in the story. He's also, a little bit of more fun facts is he's also an artist who draws star charts, and apparently it's very common for people to have his hand-drawn star charts, like adventurers to have those. He's married to a man named Halen, which I thought was very interesting. Just kind of very unique in the Magic multiverse, especially since they kind of toned down the Chandra and Nissa relationship in War of the Spark. I just find it interesting that they're slowly bringing back more of these same-sex couples. And then he actually fought and banished Old Stick Fingers, which is this monstrosity over here. And Old Stick Fingers was just a summon from a different powerful mage, is what it ended up being. So that's Vadrik. I am very proud of this deck. It is a very fun, like I said, it is a little bit of a combo-y deck. It does have some combo elements, but it's not quite as combo-y as it could be, and it's mostly just focused on either getting Vadrik to an absurd power level and milling your opponents out by making them draw their entire deck, or hitting them in the face with a 10 power burn spell that is split three ways. It is a very fun deck to get the ball rolling, and I look forward to playing this card face to face with people. It is a very, very fun way to play Magic, in my opinion. Just seeing those big damage numbers come up, and it's just a very out of nowhere win when it does happen. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. That is my deck tech. The link will be in the description for the full deck list. Please, any comments, likes, subscribes, I would definitely be appreciated. If you have anything that you don't like about the video, let me know. If you have any requests or recommendations, also let me know. I do look at the comments every day, and I do appreciate every little bit of support that you guys give me. Thank you so much for watching.